1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, Tarishi, to the first video podcast of Delhi Messenger. And just to let our viewers know, today my guest is Tarishi Sharma, who works for the ACL department of the government of Delhi. And now she'll tell us a little bit more about what she does exactly for the department and what ACL actually stands for in Delhi.
Hello, hi. Very happy to be here today, and thank you for having me on your first video podcast. There's something cool about being the first.
Of course.
But so ACL stands for Art, Culture, and Languages. It is actually one of the newer departments of Delhi government. We were formed sometime in the late 90s, as opposed to the rest of the departments that have existed forever.
So that's interesting that the late 90s are considered to be new.
Yeah. I mean, as opposed to when the rest of the Delhi government started. So it's comparatively new. Before that, ACL used to actually be a part of education, and then it was carved out as a separate department.
Okay.
And we do a lot of things. We have a lot of sub departments sort of under us. The Delhi archives come under us. The archaeology part of Delhi government comes under us. We have 23 language academies that come under us. The Sahitya Kala Parishad is a part of the Art, Culture, and Languages department. So a bunch of things. Yeah, we organize events. I think that's the public face of the department. So that's how people recognize us. That we're the department that organizes cultural events across Delhi. So all your classical music nights or dance festivals.
Okay, yeah. So anything that anyone watching this podcast might have come across in Delhi, and are these ticketed events or free events, or what sort of events exactly are these?
We actually try to make all our events free events with first come, first serve seating. I think only during COVID times we had a few events that were through passes only, and that was because of the restrictions of the time. We organized a month. Actually, no, that wasn't art and culture. So I look at art and culture and I look at tourism.
Okay.
And I was, what is art and culture doing right now? We have been renovating Dara Shiko's library, which is an old building which was in a dilapidated state in Ambedkar University. So anyone who's gone to Ambedkar University in Kashmiri Gate has, at least until a few years ago, has seen this really old, rundown looking building. It's a very interesting structure. It's Dara Shiko's library, which was later taken up by a British official as his house. So the hall inside is Dara Shiko's library. The space surrounding it is built in British architecture. And we've been repairing that, and we're working with some partner organizations to transform that into Delhi's own partition museum. Also because so much of Delhi's
that's
history.
Like a partner to the Amritsar Partition Museum, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, all right. So,
And
you just mentioned the architecture.
I think it's important.
Sorry. You just mentioned the architecture, and that got me thinking that does ACL do something with the architecture also, or because Delhi is so full of history and there are so many monuments everywhere in Delhi, and there are so many little ones that nobody knows anything about. So does ACL does any of that?
That's actually precisely what ACL does. So some of the larger monuments in Delhi come under ASI with the central government.
Okay.
So your Lal Killa and your Qutub Minar will come under ACI. But of course, Delhi has all of these small heritage spots spread across the city. So the smaller ones come under Delhi government. And I mean smaller also because they haven't been given that much importance throughout history. There is Bada Lao Ka Gumbad, there is Kursia Begum Ka Bagh, which are all very well developed monuments. But in a city that has Lal Killa and India Gate and Qutub Minar, they take on a second grade. And Humayun's tomb, that is true. So actually, if Humayun's tomb is your favorite, you'll be happy to know that right next to Sundar Nasri, there is a smaller monument which is right now doing conservation work on it, called Azimganj Ki Sarai.
The one with
which is the oldest sarai.
Oh no. I thought you're talking about the
No,
one
it's actually not
which we
visible at
call
all.
as Neela Gumbad, because I saw some restoration work happening on that as well. I don't know if
That
that
is
is the real name, but since childhood I've been calling it Neela Gumbad because the top is blue. I have no idea what the real
no,
name
not
is.
that one. It's now called Subwood,
Oh, okay.
which is its original name. There's a Neela Gumbad which is closer to Nizamuddin railway station, which is the original Neela Gumbad. But I know, I remember
Oh,
we
I
used to
thought
all
this
call it.
this was close to Nizamuddin railway station.
Oh, the other one is closer
Oh, okay.
by it's
So
a
basically, there are a
difference
lot of
of degrees.
monuments in that area. Okay.
Correct.
So, I was wondering something that because I also come from a comms background and just like promoting such kind of like for some particular things, you get a lot of money, whoever your employer is or whoever, whatever the company is, like if it's tech or, something that is very tangible or which is supposed to be like beneficial to more people, it's very easy to get the funds. Like you just tell your boss that, okay, we need these funds and they just approve it straight away. But is it possible that for something like art and culture, it might be more restricted than that? Because, I talked to a few people and they told me that, yeah, it's like overall for comms activities, sometimes it's harder to get funds. So I was wondering how the ACL manages their external communications.
I don't. I don't think actually. I don't think funding is a restriction at all. In fact, if most of our events are catering to the public and they're free of any ticketing charges, we look at publicity as the only form of communication we have, so that people actually know what's happening in their city and they get to attend these events. So it's also some really well-known artists, some really respected artists in the field that the government brings. And were you to go for a ticketed event, it would be really expensive and really difficult to get to. So we
Sorry,
do.
can you
I
repeat
think.
that last part? It just got distorted.
Okay. No, I was just saying that the sort of artists that Delhi government brings in, these are some very well-known, respected artists in their field. And had they been doing a ticketed event, it would be really expensive for the Aam Janata to actually be
Right,
able to sit
right.
there. So, I mean, we look at communication as one of the most important aspects of it. If people don't know what is happening in their own city, you could organize the best sort of event and it will go to waste.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
which is also why we try to do a lot of our events outdoors. So, the Central Park in CT is one of our favorite locations because people, anyway, they're out there, they're walking, and you
Yeah,
automatically attract
you
a
just
huge
hear the
crowd.
music and you
Difficult
walk
to miss.
towards it.
That is true. And now, same with Sundar.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
footfalls are great. You have people just walking around. So we do multi level of communication work. We do newspaper advertisements. We do sometimes we do radio jingles. We do and then we do look at social media. I think with the newspaper ads and radio jingles, we were reaching out to a large section of population, but the college going, the younger crowd, maybe the teens. I think that's where we weren't able to tap into. And these are also people who have a lot of time. They have a taste for
The Gen
newer,
Zers.
yeah, yeah.
So is that the
So
target audience for these events? Like who are the main target audience for these events?
I think we want to do like a mixed target audience. I personally feel that the target audience seems to be the people who haven't had access to a lot of art and culture. So, maybe like
Okay.
people from the events used to happen in Kamani, LTG, that
Yeah.
the central
Yeah. Very
Delhi
exclusive events.
area, and the only people very exclusive and not accessible to the general person.
Yeah,
So, and
definitely.
a lot of these in the earlier time used to be they weren't ticketed, but they were pass-based entry. So, if you knew someone in Sarkar, if you knew someone with a red batti on their car, that's the only way you could attend these events. So, we're
Yeah,
trying to
I've
sort of
like
change
totally
the culture.
experienced that because it's like the ballet festival of Kamani, it's like, how do you get that coveted pass to that? It has like such amazing shows.
Yeah,
It's not ticketed, but there's like, there are no passes to be had. God knows
yeah,
who is getting those passes.
yeah. No, I mean that's the sort of thing we want to change. That so I think the target audience needs to be the average person who might not have connections but should have access to art and culture that the government is organizing for the people. So we did a huge Broadway style musical on Baba Sahib, and we ran it 2 shows a day for a month straight. And we had buses. Delhi government organized buses from each corner of Delhi. Every day, these buses, free bus service for people to just get into a bus and come and watch the musical. And there were these people, like there was this old lady who'd come from, I think she'd come from Narela, and she'd brought her grandson along. And people were crying. I mean, there were also people who think very highly about Baba Sahib, and they were crying during the shows. And it was also difficult conversation. So parents would have to explain to their children what caste discrimination means and how it perpetuates. It was a moving show, and but like this old lady, I just remember her. She just came out and said, "मुझे कभी नहीं लगा था मैं अपनी जिंदगी में ऐसा कुछ देख पाऊंगी," because it was such an elite experience for people who just had no access earlier.
Yeah, and
So I
of
think
course,
that
you know that I went to watch the show and I took my parents along. But it was really nice to watch a show like that after many years in Delhi. Because I think when I was way younger, I had gone to those Kamani shows because I knew someone who worked there, so I had managed to get a pass. But yeah, it's been like I went to the theater a couple of times after that. Of course, those were ticketed events and they were like sort of expensive. They cost more than movie tickets. So they are, I think, like they would be considered very, very exclusive. But the scale of the Ambedkar show was so good, and like the music and everything, it was pretty great. And I was really happy that, okay, something like this is happening again in Delhi. And because, I always, growing up in Delhi, I always associate it with the art and culture hub, although it has got a bad rep now because of a lot of other things that happen in the city. But I think like the history, the music, Urdu
yeah,
language, and so many great things come out of Delhi. And it's like nice to see that the government is actually promoting these things.
yeah,
So, you
yeah.
mentioned
And this
social
other,
media.
sorry,
Sorry. Yeah, you mentioned social media. So I was
sorry.
like wondering, how do you go about it? Because these days, like I use Instagram for my pages as well, and everybody's using Facebook, Instagram, everything. But it's become like to grow a loyal following organically has become like one of the hardest things in the social media space as a whole. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, you're actually quite right. So, and we've also seen, so sometimes not in ACL, but in other departments, I've seen where they've hired an agency to run their social media pages. It will put out great content, but it's just so saturated. I've seen that it's difficult to reach out to your correct audience. And
Yeah.
somehow when these agencies handle the pages, they don't care as much about the engagement. So at the end of the day, we'll come back and show you that this is the content we put out. We put out 2 posts every single day for 6 months. But those posts have no engagement because they haven't reached out to the right sort of audience.
Mm.
And so with ACL, we've tried to do it in-house. We've been working organically. My team's been helping me out. And in fact, I think my team's done a great job. So they've tested out different things. They've put out different kinds of content, seen what works, what doesn't work. And we were also looking at different platforms. So we were looking at what works for Twitter, what works for Instagram, and just finding. I think when you put out good content, it will get caught up. It just takes a little bit of trial and error to figure out what sort of content people are looking for. It has to be, of course, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. Um, but
Sorry,
I
the
think
video got
we
stuck.
we started off thinking, oh, sorry. No, I think we started off trying to think in terms of what do people want to see. And I think that was a mistake because we were trying to cater to this imaginary audience. And then I think halfway through it, we stopped. We just like, let's just put out content that, excites us. So we would do these group meetings and we would just discuss, hey, should we put out this? Should we put out this? How would you like to see? and realize as a team we like to see to the point content, like not too much written materials. We like to see images, and we like to have a sense. So if you're putting out, um, we put out updates about the events that are being organized, and we put out some pictures or videos about the events that is going on or has happened, so people get a sense of what sort of event it is. And we started putting out trivia about this Delhi, like
Yeah, I actually
Delhi's
saw that,
culture. So
and
it could
that was
be
like really interesting. That because
it was painful to do the research,
yeah, because
but
I was like,
I'm
where
glad
did
you
they
like
get
it.
this information from? This seems very, very obscure. Like you have to ask a historian or someone for this like very specific, tiny detail. Because
Yeah,
like the regular
I
Google
yeah.
search will not show those details to you at all.
Yeah, my colleague Nandini she was doing all the research. She was looking at books, she was looking at old articles, she was talking to some historians also, wherever she could find interesting trivia. And and actually we found out now, we find that some pages are copying our trivia. So then she gets really offended. She's like, we worked so hard to find this, and now people are just stealing it from us.
When
What?
you work for the government
I
and
think that's
all the
the internet.
information is public, once it reaches Instagram, nothing is
That's
private
true.
anymore. There you can't
That
claim
is true. And I
copyright
mean,
on
it is,
information.
and I mean, in the larger scheme of things, it is adding to people's excitement about Delhi as a cultural hub. So, no harm. I mean, it's still serving a larger purpose.
Yeah, I am waiting for the image to turn back to Delhi as a cultural hub. It's really sad because we have Mandi House and we have Bengali Market, we have all these monuments, we have so many like theaters where plays are put up, and still the perception of Delhi is that
Yeah.
it's the crime capital, it's the pollution capital. I mean, I really want people who are not from Delhi to not think of Delhi in those
Yeah.
terms anymore.
Yeah. I think it happens when, sorry, your voice got cut in the middle. I
Yeah,
just
there
heard.
was like no, it got stuck. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, no, and I mean, the other thing that we're trying is something exciting with the language academy. So Delhi government has so there are academies for languages that the idea is that if a section of Delhi's population speaks that language, we will have a language academy to uh, promote that language, the literature, the arts in that language. There's of course a Hindi academy, but then there's an Urdu academy, which does some academic research. It supports artists and authors in Urdu language. It organizes qawwalis and mushairas. Mushairas is a very popular. Um, and then there's a Sindhi academy, there's a Punjabi academy, there's a Garhwali Kumaoni academy. In fact, out of some of these are older academies, and a lot of them are newer ones also. I distinctly remember with the Garhwali Kumaoni Academy, the because of a lot of migrations, the Garhwali Kumaoni population in Delhi has been expanding. And they came up to the government, they came up to the minister, and they said, our kids are growing up in Delhi. They don't speak the language, they don't understand the language, and we're afraid that the culture is going to vanish in the next generation. Like they were genuinely very worried about it. Um, which is how the Garhwali Kumaoni Academy came up to being. And so the kids also they're not interested because a lot of the stuff that I mean, the culture is not, they don't relate to the way the language is being produced. So we try to do theater festivals. So we do theater workshops during the summer where kids can come and pick up plays and sort of prepare plays in Garhwali or in Kamangni or in Jaunsari, which are the three languages that form this community. And at the end of the summer break, we present it. The academy, these are free workshops that kids come and they learn, and then we present it at the end of the year. So I think it's just catering to people's uh, cultural needs in these ways. So there's a Sindhi academy. And Sindhis, again, they feel that a lot of their culture is disappearing. So Sindhi music hasn't been as active. So these academies then form communities of people who feel strongly about their culture. And then they've organized cultural events for those groups and plays and poetry competitions,
So where do they
singing
put up these
competitions. And
plays?
I think this is it. So they do different. Some of them, so maybe when the kids, like the kids theater, we put them up, the academy funds it and they do it. They've done it at LTG earlier. They did it at the Central Delhi Auditorium, that's Pyarelal Bhavan at Mandi House. But also we take them to the community. So um, with the mushairas, we might sometimes do it in areas where there are a lot of Urdu speaking people. With Maithili Bhojpuri, if there's like a musical evening, we'll probably do it in Buradi, where there are a lot of language speakers. With Garhwali Kumaoni, we did an event in Karaval Nagar. Nobody thinks of Karaval Nagar and uh, thinks of it as a cultural hub, but
Yeah.
it is where the language is spoken. So you put up tents, you set it up, you bring in speakers, you bring in artists, and the community walks out. And these are women who don't have access, like they don't have enough disposable income to even get a vehicle and come all the way up to your Kamani and attend an event. But they can walk the 500 meters to the neighborhood DDA Park, for example. And that is where they attend. So Sindhi events lots of times happen at Sindhi temples or Sindhi panchayats, which are these old NGOs, where anyway they have a marking of the Sindhis who live in the community. So they call up the panchayats that, or the mandir. We call up people. And people then walk into their neighborhood mandir and they attend Sindhi music or some sort of dance form, or even like an academic discussion of sorts. Just when it's in the language, people feel so strongly about it. So much of your identity comes from your culture. And I think in a city like Delhi, you're building a common identity as a Delhiite, but you're also scared of losing your language, your culture. So I think those are the really emotional
Like that,
parts of
that's
the
like
art
a
and
very
culture.
profound thing that you said because I grew up in a Bengali household and Bengali is actually my third language now. Like I used to think that I'm very fluent in it, but as I kept growing older and I kept meeting other people who grew up, say, in Calcutta or, actually in West Bengal, I realized that my language is like not up to the par at all. I can just speak like basic conversational language with my parents who are also not from Bengal. But you mentioned that there are like pockets in Delhi where particular languages are spoken or particular communities are there. And that's very interesting because I didn't actually know that it's like that. I've stayed in Delhi all my life, but like I have always stayed in a place where like in my building, I remember when I was a kid, we had a family who was from Telangana, one family from Kerala, another from Punjab, another from Haryana, and it was like a very mixed bag sort of thing wherever I went, including school and college, everywhere. So that's like actually very interesting. And are there any like more such pockets where particular languages are spoken?
So there are some, I mean, so again, this is how partition also ties in. A lot of Delhi, as we see it today, was formed when migrants came in during the partition time. So CR
Yeah.
Park came into the CR Park actually has a very cool history where people did a vote. The people who were settling there, they did a vote on what to call that colony, and it was democratically decided to call it CR Park.
Nobody
But
calls it Chitranjan Park anymore, actually. It's Chitranjan Park. CR
nobody
is
does
just
that.
short because Chitranjan is hard to say.
That is true. But there are bunch. So I mean, they're also getting with more and more people coming in. These pockets that were more homogeneous um, are getting more diverse. If
Yeah.
I think diverse would be a good word. But if you also think the newer areas that are expanding, so you know how Buradi is still in a expansion sort of phase, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of people from
Wait.
Maithili Bhojpuri speaking people who
Wait, wait,
settled in there.
wait. We'll have to do this part again. An ambulance just went by and it would have come in the audio. Uh,
Oh, but I couldn't hear it, so I'm
oh,
hoping nobody could.
but I interrupted it anyway. Just start from the Buradi portion again.
Okay. So areas like Buradi, which might have a lot of Maithili Bhojpuri people already settled in. So when newer migrants are coming in and they don't know much about the city, they'll end up settling where they know someone.
Yeah,
So which is how this area builds up.
yeah.
But gradually, as the city also expands, these uh, these sort of areas also become more diversified. I think that is how I'm just conjecturing here. But there are definitely certain pockets here and there where people of a certain community have, and they've been living there for a while, so it's easier to reach out to them. There are lots of Garhwali and Kumaoni people who live in Patparganj, for
Okay.
example. There are um, Lajpat Nagar, where I stay, has, I don't know if I should mention that actually. I shouldn't say it on a public platform, but I stay in Lajpat Nagar.
No, I used to stay in Rajendra Nagar when I was a kid, and I think originally it was a refugee colony which was given to Sindhis. But now there are no Sindhis over there. It's just full
Exactly.
of students. It's just
But
students.
no, it still has, Rajendra Nagar still has a sizable number of Sindhis. There is a Sindhi Panchayat in Rajendra Nagar also. And the students are also there, but there are pockets of
Yeah, I
Sindhis
mean, also
in
like
Rajendra Nagar.
this also happens that a lot of people are moving out of Delhi also for various reasons. They move to NCR, they are shifting to Noida or
Correct.
Gurgaon because of
Hmm.
various reasons, like the most superficial of them being there's no parking, especially in Rajendra Nagar. I know so many people who moved out of Rajendra Nagar because there's no parking. That's the only reason.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
I was getting back to the art and culture bit. I was doing some research
Yeah.
and I realized that not just in India, not just in Delhi, but a lot of places, the art and culture festivals and events, they use a lot of interns and volunteers for their activities. So, does ACL also do that?
We do. We run an internship, which is every 2 months we hire a new batch of interns, and mostly we look at college kids. So kids who are already studying and want to gain some sort of experience. Uh, there's a slight variation in the roles depending on what projects are more important. But some for communication, some for project management. But every 2 months almost, we hire interns to work with us,
So, when there are any specific
and some of them being
events, do you need to hire more volunteers or interns when you're planning a big event like Ambedkar or something?
hmm, I actually don't like doing that. I don't like hiring interns. I think just getting new kids on board before an event is more work than it helps, because they don't understand the system. They don't know what project is going to happen. They don't recognize who the people are or what the ideas are. And also, when they're entirely new to the system, they're not invested in the ideas of it. So I try not to do that. I think for events, we try to stick to our core team and interns who've been with us for a while, who we trust enough to take responsibility of the event. I think that's a very common practice that has now started. We're hiring volunteers or interns just for an event. But no, I think events as a department we can handle. We look at our interns to contribute more in terms of how, as young people, what are their ideas? How do they see the art and culture policy working out for them? What interesting things do they think we could work out on? And even during events, we want them to do a lot of reach out. We want them to spread the word. And
Okay.
it can't just be you stand here during the event. Like bheed banane ke liye you can't have interns for an event. So I'm
Yeah, of course.
against the idea of
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
No, I mean they're there for
But
a
actually,
particular
they had some,
job, like either okay, you handle the catering, you look at check the tickets, and just stuff like that.
yeah,
Because you need more
yeah,
hands so that because
correct.
you
I mean,
yourself can't be everywhere.
that is true.
But in the ACL, the
Yeah,
overall
you're right.
activities
I
do.
mean,
Sorry, continue. So in the
no, I
A-
was just saying what I do instead of hiring new interns, if we
I think
is I try to get
I
our
think there's a
older
lag
interns,
in
people
the
who worked
time.
with us. Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
Hello?
Yeah, continue.
Oh, okay. The lag's gone now. Oh, Prakriti, I think. Oh, okay, cool, cool. No, I was just saying that what I prefer to do is instead hire older, like not hire, but basically people who worked with us before, who have been really good interns, who we trust, who understand the team. I try to call them back if we need help for a day or two. And most of them, I mean, they've also built the relationship. So they're also happy to come help. We're happy to have them over. And yeah, I think that's more of the model that I try to stick to.
Okay. So, what do the interns and volunteers actually get out of this whole experience? Because I assume that they're not paid internships. So, what exactly do
Yeah,
they
and
get?
unfortunately, I mean, I wish we could have paid them. I feel terrible about that. But um, I think a couple of things. One is when you're in college and you're mildly interested in policy, but you really don't know how it operates. I think this gives you a front seat at understanding what are the sort of steps that lead up to a policy, what are the things that you need to consider. So they'll probably sit with someone from my team and they'll do brainstorming on a bunch of ideas. And there's also, it's a two-way street. So there are also these interns giving in ideas. So there's also my team telling them, you need to check for the budget, you need to check how to do the communication, you need to finalize each and every step of the ops. And a lot of our work is also just ground level work where you have to be in the field, you have to go and check how things are happening. If it's a monument, you can't just say, I want to work on a monument preservation and then सिम नहीं जाना. This, I don't want to go travel on the field. मैं phone से कौन वो
Yeah.
करूंगा. So understanding those sort of things and also how the pace of work. I mean, some of them are really operational things. How do you, if you're going to be working in a government system, whether in a fellowship or through other means, how to write notes, how the process works, if a file has to go, where does it go, who does it go to. So I think just the experience of it gives them, and some of them decide through these internships that this is what they want to do later on. So they also extend their internships with us. Lots of people work in communication. So, and I think we have graphic designers, we have communication managers, we have video editors who work with us. So just also sitting with the team and discussing what has worked, what hasn't worked, how to build up a page, how to build engagement. If you're designing a graphic, what is working, what doesn't work, how to make a clearer design. I think these are some of the experiential things that they work, and I think some people just, you obviously there's the certificate, which when you're a college kid, I think matters quite a bit. You get an
Yeah, but
internship certificate
I'm
from the
sure that
minister by the
that
end of it.
organizational insight proves to be very helpful because that's something that fresh college graduates really have no clue about when they enter the workforce. They they like it looks
Yeah,
like इनको कहाँ लाके बिठा दिया because they have no idea how to manage their time and work and how to
yeah,
deal with so many people in an organization. So, what are the current
yeah,
projects that
yeah.
ACL is doing, which our viewers can look forward to and maybe attend? You mentioned the Partition Museum earlier,
So
definitely.
your voice has got cut.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll repeat.
yeah.
So, what are the current projects that ACL is working on? You mentioned the Partition Museum and the Darashiko Library earlier, but anything else that's in the pipeline which our viewers can go visit over the next few months, maybe?
Uh, in the next few weeks.
Or months, or the rest of the year?
Uh, there are a couple of things that we're working on, and I'm not sure if I should disclose them yet. These are really exciting things. I think that's what I want to keep it at. Um, I mean, surely we're going to do a massively increased number of summer workshops.
Okay.
So free summer workshops for kids, where in a bunch of languages. and lots in Hindi, of course, but also in Urdu and Punjabi and Sindhi. So, and everything ranging from Madhubani painting to calligraphy to dance, drama. There's Bhangra classes and poetry writing, fine arts. There's just like a range of activities, and all of them free for kids to sign up for. And at the end of the summer, the government will then organize a sort of an exhibition or a performance for them, where the parents are invited, of course, to attend. Um, there are a couple of I would just say keep an eye out. We have some really exciting things planned for this year,
That sounds really
especially for art and
amazing.
culture people.
And maybe you should tell the viewers where exactly they have to keep tabs so that they know what the latest update is and where they need to go.
Yes,
Like,
on our Instagram pages, which I'm going to read out from my phone because I don't know it by heart. Uh, our handle is delhi.artculturelanguages, and when
I'll
you
put it in
see
the
it,
I'll
it
put it in
says
the
official
description.
handle of art, culture, and languages. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So we put all our updates there, including any internships that we open up, any fellowships that we open up. So I think our archives department is hiring people right now. So yeah, I think people should apply. It's a very exciting place to work, and you get to. I think the reason I love working here is every day I think to myself that if there's something cool that I think should be done for which could benefit a large number of people, I can just go to work the next day and can do it. I mean, there's no lag in between it. So I think that's what, even when things aren't going well, I think that's my motivation. So yeah, anyone who's excited about policy and art and culture should come work with us.
Thank you so much, Tarishi, for joining me in this conversation. So, everyone, that was Tarishi Sharma representing the Art, Culture, and Languages Department of the Government of Delhi. And you can follow their social media handles to get all the updates about internships, events, and the very exciting things that Tarishi was not able to reveal right now because they are on a need to know basis. But I'm very intrigued. Thank you so much, Tarishi.